Should I marry a murderer? Netflix doc. Yes. Thus frustrated me and highlights why people choose to not turn to the police. They're completely disgraceful and embarrassing in their handling of this case. Did you see the part where the cops came knocking on her door and pushed their way in to confront Sandy? Completely exposing Caroline and making her vulnerable, with no regard to her safety once they left. That prosecutor should lose his ability to practice. To say that a woman of her education wasn't vulnerable is ignorant in the extreme, and he shouldn't be working with witnesses. He is an absolute disgrace. I can't get over how callous they were. Tony was alive and they moved him off the road, left him there suffering, and came back later to pick him up so that he would eventually die and they could cover up the crime. Gave him no chance to survive even doing a hit and run. Someone else could have stopped and saved him, and they may have not got caught for that anyways. Absolute cowards. The way David Green, prosecuting maybe, clearly has no idea how abusive relationships work is wild. It was also heartbreaking and gut-wrenching hearing about the kind of death Mr. Parsons suffered. The fear and pain he must have gone through is horrifying to even imagine. My prayers truly go out to his family, because no one deserves something that tragic. He could have survived if the twins hadn't been so selfish and immune to killing. I was already disturbed by the hunting scenes in the beginning. I hate how the main police officer made it sound like Caroline was only mildly helpful in the investigation. Not a trace was found for 3 years. Then she solved the entire case. When he said we still didn't have his bike or helmet, like she failed in her mission to get him all the evidence, woman facepalming. It was so strange just how many videos they had, such a return to Snapchat days. Will this be documentaries moving forward? Like all our camera rolls taken out. If I want that, as this just made me a bit uncomfortable. The police really let down a vulnerable woman in this case, and the fact that they declined to comment proves it. When that police officer said she was educated and should have known what was available to her, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Just because someone is smart doesn't mean they can't be emotionally vulnerable. Currently watching, it seems strange they did not put her into witness protection while the news was spreading all the updates on the case. Unfortunately, I felt the series really dragged on, and it would have been nice to focus on the late victim and his family more. Those saying that she should be ashamed, she was ashamed, she says it multiple times. Caroline knew that her actions weren't okay, and you can see in the footage, compared to her now, that she was ill. This is definitely a case where you just cannot place yourself into that person's shoes. She made bad decisions, but ultimately Caroline is the reason why Tony Parsons' body was found, allowing his family to lay him to rest and bringing some closure. Currently watching it. She's their witness, but they made her feel like trash. Police did a bad job. All they cared about is their case and forgot about her. They even let RHE brothers know she left a marker on the gravesite, which should have been hidden info from the beginning. Ugh, police suck worldwide, I guess. For a hot second, I thought they were going to find additional bodies on the estate. Caroline must have mental health issues that predate her relationship with that vile killer, because so many things about her reactions were abnormal. She should have cut off contact after she reported the brothers. If a guy told me he knocked down an animal and left it to die, I would be out of the relationship, never mind a human. And she was a doctor. Why did she take so many reaction videos of herself? That was so weird to me. And going back to live with a killer on an isolated farm when a lot of victim blaming directed at Caroline in this comment section. It's easy for us to say what we do, we weren't the ones in the situation. Ultimately, she is literally the only reason they were ever caught. Turning off at 10 foot of episode 3. I can't believe her, them or the police. You meet someone for a month and in a weekend agree to marry, and even buy a wedding dress? He confessed murder, and you take him to meet your parents. A truck blinds you, and next thing you accidentally hit a cyclist. Where's that truck? How come they didn't notice the accident? And the police. We are a collection of awful people in this world. So much alcohol faced with tears of joy. Every video of them is him drinking. Could not imagine making myself believe that the relationship was going to end well. They failed her in so many ways. She was obviously using drugs and manic. I'm not a doctor, but it seems like she has other mental illness that needed to be addressed. She's not very likable, but I still sympathize for her. I've got to the bit where they go round her flat. No wonder they were mad. She first said friends, then she was meant to be at her mates. And then she's not even meant to be with them. Bloody hell, haha. I am on episode 1. Caroline is so transparent when pretending she was always planning on telling the police from the moment he told her about the dead cyclist. I can't live with the guilt. I have to report it. Nah, it was only when he asked you to assist with removing the body that you reported it, as you knew you'd be committing a crime then. That almost every single comment is disparaging a woman who is clearly suffering from mental illness, and literally none that disparage the actual murderers is wild. She clearly suffered from mental illness. And yet, in that mental fog and chaos and substance abuse, she is the sole and only reason that this crime came to light. Everything else she did, that these comments are judging her for, are clearly driven by mental health issues and substance abuse. That people are disgusted that she kept. I gotta be honest, I feel like Caroline, with all the filming of herself and putting herself intentionally in harm's way, almost wanted to be a big part of this drama. If I found out my spouse had murdered someone, I would completely remove myself from the situation, and that would be it. Just got a big main character syndrome feeling out of her, like she was enjoying this a bit more than she'd let on. I'd never have brought this dude to my parents' house. I want to protect my parents from stress, eh? I'm 10 minutes into the first episode, and I'm shocked by several things. First of all, the guy lives 1.5 hours away from her, can't be bothered to get off his ass, and the best he can do is invite her to wander around his area, and she happily agrees and drives to him. What's more, she's the one pushing for a second meeting, okay? Maybe some people are more easygoing about this than I am, but it's yet another example of him doing nothing while she takes the initiative. Our fairy tale prince. Poor Tony. The thought of him dying alone in the cold, knowing he would never see his family again, really got me. We can only hope he was injured to the point of not being conscious and understanding what was going on. Caroline needs help. The constant videoing of herself crying and trying on her wedding dress just made me think she'd gone off the deep end. I can't fathom going back to someone who had purposely left a person to die, but without her actions, Tony's family would never have it. Disappointed by how much focus was on this woman. The victim, Mr. Parsons, suffered a horrific death while doing a charity ride. How could those men leave him there suffering and then bury him? I would not be surprised if they saw him on his bike and deliberately hit him because of their hunter mindset. She was so concerned with herself towards the end of it, I actually was bored listening to her go on about herself and how she was the victim. Meanwhile, sleeping and living with this murder.